We are live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to The Show Must Go On line. Today we have two special guests. We have Katie Johantgen and James Penca. How are y'all doing today?
We are excellent.
Doing great.
Yay.
Yay. So happy to hear it. And so happy to hear your voices and see your faces because anyone who's been following along has noticed this is third time's the charm, and we made it happen.
Yeah.
You know, it's just all good things come to those who wait, as I say.
Love to hear that. Yeah, I feel like it's better to make a quick note in case if, knock on wood, anything happens. But, you know, we are in the middle of a pandemic. There is just some extreme weather. Sometimes Wi-Fi is like, what? So we're looking pretty good right now. But if I don't say it, you know, then... Now that that's out of the way, let's start at the very beginning. A very good place to start. And let's hear your origin stories. What got you into theater and acting and comedy and guitar playing and all of those good things?
Amazing. I'll start. I don't remember ever not being into theater. I was definitely like raised on Disney movies, and you know, my parents took us to see shows all the time. So I just kind of remember always wanting to be a part of this world, as they say. So yeah, I went to Temple University for musical theater, and I moved to New York in 2016. And that's actually around the time that I started doing more comedy as well as musical theater. So I started doing stand-up and improv and sketch writing and all that fun stuff. And I've done a couple off-Broadway shows. I was in the Friends musical parody, and then the Office musical parody after that. That was really fun. And along the way, I met this guy, and we downloaded TikTok in October of last year, and that's sort of been what we've been up to.
We will get all in that. For sure.
Oh yeah. That was the cliff notes of it all.
Love it.
And then as for me, I grew up in a musical family, like the Beatles basically were the music that my family listened to. But my mom would show me musicals, movie musicals from time to time, and I did not like any of them. And I played sports and wanted that life. And then in high school, discovered theater. Found I was much better at theater than I was at sports. So I kind of made the shift over, ended up going to Baldwin Wallace University in Cleveland, Ohio for music theater, and then moved to New York right after graduation. And since then, just, regional work, some stuff in New York. I've done an off-Broadway show as well. It was a play last year. But when quarantine was not happening before COVID, I played Beatles music at Central Park at John Lennon's memorial. And then we made funny videos from time to time. And so here we are.
I love it. These are great origin stories. Those funny videos that you're talking about, it's so wonderful when you happen upon something and then you see it a second time and you see it a third time. And I remember first seeing the Man in a Musical thing. I was like, that's hilarious. How did that whole thing get started?
Well, it was sort of like an inside joke that we sort of did amongst ourselves. The first one we ever made was how to run off stage if you are a man in a musical. And that started because that was sort of like a bit we did, just like making fun of how the leading man will often exit stage left.
Yeah, like the bit being that usually you have to run off stage to like chase somebody, but because it's a theater and there's probably not a lot of room to run, and then not a lot of room off stage, you can't actually run that fast. So you add a little hop to show that you're running fast.
Yeah.
So like we used to just joke about that sort of thing.
We had just gotten back. It was fresh in our minds because, there's a dog. Amazing.
Hi, Slimbo.
So yeah, we had just gotten back from seeing our dear friend Talia Suskauer star as Elphaba in the Wicked National Tour. And obviously Fierro does a lot of hop, skip, run off stage.
Every time he exits, Wicked. There's a little hop.
Yeah. So it was like that trope was fresh in our brains. So we had just gotten back and I was like, oh, James, like, let me film you doing it. And I just posted it on Twitter and then it started to go viral.
Yeah.
And so then we were like, oh, people like this. Well, we can think of like 1,000 more of these. So we started filming a couple more.
And a lot of the early ones came from like bits that we would usually do, but some of them were just jokes making fun of things that we were taught in college, you know, just like walk in, really take in the space, you know, give it up to the balcony. And like, there's just all these absurdly over the top acting notes that we had been given, and it all is real and it all works. And that's the fun part about the videos, is that the dumb things we were making fun of is stuff that we've all done, because it does kind of work. It's just out of context in a little New York apartment makes it very funny.
With like no music.
No music, no
just silent.
lighting. Silent, like
just truly distilled bad acting.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then I had a friend that was, you know, they were starting to go viral on like Twitter and Instagram, Facebook, and then I had a friend say, you know, you need to put these on TikTok. And I was a little wary because I was like, I think that app is for kids. But she was like, no, trust me. So I just like uploaded a couple and closed the app. And then next thing I knew, we had a lot of followers. So we're like, all right, TikTok's our new home.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you got on that pretty quickly. Like last year, how early last year?
I actually just today, TikTok's doing like a little like 2020 roundup, and it told me we joined on Wednesday, October 23rd of 2019.
Oh.
So yeah, about 6 months before. So we
got a little head start from COVID.
Yeah. We made some videos. In fact, when COVID started, the Man in a Musical series was kind of, we did like maybe 2 more after COVID started. We really didn't go too far into that, because then, you know, Katie had all these other ideas for videos that she did, and you know, I'd do some of those with her, and it migrated into different funny videos. But the Man in a Musical series was from October till about March, and then we moved on.
Wow, that's much better than my. I think I started it on last Thursday, so we're
amazing.
Really
Welcome.
Thank you. Happy to be here. But I do feel like it's this perfect website for the type of work that the two of you do, because it's so clever. And also you can do it in these short bits that, like, on YouTube, it's amazing, but also on this little platform that's become a big platform.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the ratatouille of it all. How did you become a part of that, and just like the fun of it?
Yeah. So I have the TikTok on my phone, sort of the social media manager. So I noticed that this thing was happening, this sort of trend, and people were writing all these like amazing songs and designing playbills and doing all this stuff. And it was like blowing up to the point where I was like, James, like, we have to participate. Like, we can't not be part of this. Like, this is sort of our brand. So I just sat down and, you know, I picked a moment from the movie that I hadn't seen a lot of people do yet, that I thought would be fun to see, like, fully realized. And that I thought that James, a part that like James would be good in. And and then I just wrote the song. We had our friend Danny K. Bernstein make a little piano track for us. And we just submitted our contribution to the universe. Oh no.
So I muted myself because Slim was just barking so much, and I didn't want to distract you. But this is so funny too, because Danny and I went to high school together.
No way! I love Danny.
Me too. We were in all the High School Musicals together.
Incredible.
That's great.
Yes, Danny is recently on TikTok, taking it by storm.
Yes, yes. It's I'm gonna have to reach out to him because I love musicals, but I am not the best performer. So I was in it for the happy ensemble roles, and that was great. So now that you've been a part of this Ratatouille musical, there's the Ratatouille, the TikTok musical extravaganza, and it has like taken on a whole life of its own.
Yeah.
So that's happening. Is it January 1st?
Yeah, it's January 1st, 7 p.m., I believe. It's a virtual concert. It's going to have a lot of exciting people, TBD, announced in the cast. And they went and the producer reached out to a couple of the TikTok creators who had written these songs. And obviously on TikTok, nothing can be more than 1 minute. So they have this team of composers and arrangers who have taken a few of the songs that they wanted to work with from TikTok, and they're going to fully expand them into full musical numbers. I think there's going to be like 12 full songs altogether. And it's going to be brought to life virtually, and we're so excited.
Yeah. And the reason that we know so much is because thankfully one of our song, our contribution is one of the songs that they're going to do in the show. At least they asked for it. I mean, who knows? Things could get cut, I guess. But I think we got lucky in that we picked, not lucky, we did this on purpose, but we picked a moment from Ratatouille to make in our musical video. We picked a moment that not a lot of people had done yet. It was a moment that I could be in, as Ego, but the moment where he tastes the Ratatouille, there was like maybe one other video like that, but we picked that. So
I also like to think that they picked it because it's good.
Yes, obviously, but it was a smart idea on our part to pick one that other people hadn't done yet.
The combination of being clever and also it being good, I think that's also like a lot about life, right? You try to find your niche and whatever is like hasn't maybe been done yet, but you also have to be good for it to get noticed, and then you found that sweet spot right there.
That's what we're hoping.
Mm-hmm. So beyond this, there's so many videos that the two of you have done, and the Mandy Patinkin of it all we need to get into because it brings so much joy. And then you got to do a video call. How did that whole thing happen?
So Mandy and I go way back in that I've been a fan of his and he has no idea who I am. So I've been a Mandy fan since I was probably before I was even performing. I watched videos of Mandy performing in different things. And he just always, he's just so intense. It's impossible not to find him unbelievably amazing. And so there are certain videos on YouTube of Mandy singing that I've watched probably 3,000 times each, particularly his performances on the David Letterman show back in the 80s, I think. So, and then of course I've watched the Sunday in the Park with George DVD a lot and other performances a lot. But so I've watched these performances so much, and then I get to college and I do my performing, and I constantly would be told by my professors and then by agents and casting directors that would come see us perform, people from New York. The general note I would get is that I sound and perform just like Mandy Patinkin. And I don't know if it's because of just chances or if it's because I watched those videos so much in my formative years, but that's a thing I get a lot, is that I sound like Mandy Patinkin. So naturally I do a Mandy Patinkin impression, but only to myself or to Katie, because it's not that good. And I don't do impressions. Like, I'm not a good impressionist. I'm truly not a good impressionist. But we were in the car. Well, I'm not usually, is the point. And so we were in the car on a road trip or something, and we were singing songs as different people. And I did my Mandy impression of, I think we were just doing Dear Evan Hansen, him as Dear Evan Hansen. And so we, again, Katie thought we should put that on TikTok or whatever. And so we did, and it was good. And then we made another one, and it was just fun. And I started really trying to get into just dissect what about Mandy Patinkin is making the impression good. And so starting to zero in on like a truly good impression of Mandy. And then Mandy got on TikTok and started doing, Vote Blue, get out and vote kinds of videos, which is really nice. And so I decided to make one myself as Mandy, encouraging people to vote. So I did Finishing the Hat, but it was called Register to Vote. And he saw that one. I think that was the one that he saw.
Yeah,
and
he commented on that one.
He commented on that one. That was the first contact we got from him, is that he saw that one and he said, this is amazing. Are you available to stand in for me anytime I don't want to do something, basically? And and that alone was like, we were watching TV one night and she saw that on her phone, and we were freaking out that Mandy Patinkin saw this video. And it's a dream of mine. He is my absolute idol. That, oh my gosh, like truly, if I could have lunch with any person on the planet in history, maybe it would be him. So for him to say, to comment, but then we posted the video of her as Bernadette and me as Mandy singing Move On, but it was Vote Blue. And off of that video, he reached out and said he wanted to chat. And so him and his son Gideon runs all of his social media.
So as Gideon, his son reached out to us through DM, and then we set up the call, and he was just as marvelous and lovely and kind and generous as you ever imagine.
Hope and pray that he would be, because it's me. I had an opportunity to meet him years ago. A friend of mine said he was at a restaurant that he was at, and he had just sat down, and I could go there and meet him if I want. But I was so scared. I didn't want to. Oh God, what if he's mean?
I don't want to bother him.
I don't want to bother him. But like, also,
what
if he's mean? And
I know you're at this restaurant.
Shoos me away. So
be gone.
And he said, we talked for about 15 minutes, and he said some things that we will always remember, just like compliments and just saying how
incredibly gracious.
Just so lovely. And so since then, we text with his son pretty regularly about videos and stuff, and they called us once out of the blue to ask us how to do something on TikTok. They couldn't figure out how to get the duet thing to work, which was really cute. And then
but their whole family is
they're all
lovely.
Just so lovely. And we all hope to we're gonna get together sometime after the quarantine is over and people can go outside again. So we're friends now, which is a weird dream. And it's one of those things where, like, if this is as good as it gets, I'm kind of okay with that. It's just like, it's a dream just for him to know who I am, let alone think that, we are talented is pretty cool, because I think he's the most talented human being who's ever lived.
That warms my heart more than a cup of hot cocoa. I mean, this is it's really the best. And the fact that you're friends because of talent and mutual interest, and it's the best. It's the best that he appreciates what you do. You obviously appreciate what he does. And then all of his TikToks have been so phenomenal. And it's cool.
Crazy.
You've had that little, that help to make sure that they actually get seen by everyone.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, that was when I saw the screenshot, I was like, all right, well, we are 100% talking about this.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have so many different avenues that we could go with this, but what's it like, Katie, doing the Friends the musical and the Office one, taking something that is so beloved by so many people and then doing this off-Broadway comedy? And I saw the Office one, and it was hilarious.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very fun to do these sort of iconic characters. I played Phoebe when I was in the Friends musical, and then I played Angela, Ryan the Temp, Jan, and Holly Flax in the Office musical. And yeah, I mean, it's a blast, but there is definitely a lot of pressure when you're like bringing such iconic, beloved characters to life. And there's just with the nature of parody, you're doing a little bit more of an impression than you might do if it was like an adaptation of a piece, So, there's finding that line of like, okay, I'm doing an impression, but I also want to like bring a little bit of my own thing to the table. And, but it was very fun. And, being somebody who also really loves to do comedy and obviously musical theater, it was sort of like these shows were like sort of the perfect blend of those worlds because they have very much like a sketch comedy vibe, especially The Office, which I'm sure, you saw it. So the whole show is just quick change, quick change, quick change, quick change. Yeah, I think I had, over 20 quick changes in that show. Pretty nonstop. But yeah, but it's fun. So it is that sort of like fly by the seat of your pants sketch comedy vibe, but then it's also like a legitimate full-blown musical.
Definitely. Right. Like, I think some people, when they hear about these, they're like, oh, ha, 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 it's going to be funny. But it's also really good. Like, it's clever. It's well done. And you're all professional actors. It's not like I just went with some friends and went, let's put on a musical, which would also be semi-entertaining, I'd say.
Yeah, I can see that.
But speaking of friends putting on musicals, I know y'all are friends with Joe Iconis and Family.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mr. Joe Iconis, one of my favorite humans, and Lauren Marcus and the whole gang. So how did y'all meet?
Love them.
So Joe and I met in 2011. So geez, almost 10 years ago. So I was doing summer stock in between my sophomore and junior years of college at the Weston Playhouse in Vermont. Still to this day, the greatest summer I have ever had, the greatest contract I've ever had. The Weston Playhouse is the greatest theater I've ever worked at. I would die there if it's the best. And so this was my first summer there. I've worked there a couple times since, but Joe was brought in to be a guest composer for the summer stock kids, me and 6 others, to sing his music for a cabaret and like a late night cabaret that follows the main stage show. And so Joe came in and really sort of, you could say, like, changed my life in a way, my theater life, because up to that point, I had never really done rock and roll singing. I mean, I would sing the Beatles with my dad, but that's not like really rock and roll all the time necessarily. And Joe's music is very rock and roll. And he didn't have music with him. He just gave us lyrics and then taught us the melodies, which was like very laid back. And when we would get to a big harmony, he would go, I don't know, just pick a note. You guys know what sounds good. And it blew my mind that this guy is just so cool with everything. And I remember on one run through of a song, I cracked on a high note, which was something I struggled with a lot in college. I'm a bass baritone for sure, and everyone's always asking me to sing these tenor parts, and my voice would crack every single day in school. And so my voice cracked during one of his songs, and I stopped. And I was like, oh, that was terrible. And he goes, dude, that was great. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, no. If that happens, that happens, man. It's great. Like, do whatever. And I couldn't believe that this guy existed. And so I met a couple of the family members that summer. They came to see the show, and they loved the show and everything. And we got to sing some songs that were like new Joe Iconis songs at the time. Now they're 10 years old and everybody knows them. But at the time they were like really cool and new. And then I moved to New York a couple years after college. And Joe asked if I wanted to be in his Christmas show, 54 Below. And obviously I would do anything that Joe asked me. So I have now done that show for 7 years. I do it every Christmas. This was the first Christmas that I didn't do it because we didn't do it at all. And all of the family, it's just like, we're all so sad that we didn't get to do it this year, because it is the greatest tradition. If anybody watching, if you ever get to see the Christmas show, the Joe Iconis Christmas Extravaganza.
I was sad, and I just from being in the audience the past couple years since
Yeah.
I met James, it's become like one of my favorite Christmas traditions, just getting to watch it.
Yeah.
I was like, I miss it so much. It's like the best thing ever.
Just to give you an idea, the characters I've played in this show include a mythical looking snow creature, Mr. Jensenmeyer, the angry neighbor. I've also played Mr. Maccabee, the old timey barkeep, Sweet Baby Jesus for one performance.
Iconic.
And then probably something else. But yeah, and the Hick. That was a good one. So yeah, just a wild and crazy show. And as you know, Joe is just a very rare breed of human, and all the people that he surrounds himself with are the same way. Lauren is amazing, and Jason, and just everybody that is in his crew.
Yeah.
And I'm just honored to be a part of his crew, usually just like once a year around Christmas time. But also we did a show in Vermont a couple years ago at the Weston Playhouse again. And, so we work together from time to time. I did one of his musicals recently, Love and Hate Nation. We did a reading of that. So just, he's just a great guy. And I was curious how you knew him, because I know he was on here with Lauren and everything.
I love them so much. The attempted at a short version is that Joe's been a part of now so many of my first musical theater recording experiences. So like we met at the Guggenheim experience, like the Songs and Works, or whatever it's called, back in January of 2019. And then I saw the first preview of Be More Chill on Broadway, and he remembered me. And it was
of course he
classic
did.
Joe.
Right. Yeah. I was like, we met for like 2 seconds at a museum, and you remember me. Yeah. And then I covered the opening night, which was so incredible getting to interview him. And then, I mean, kind of like you said, I want to be a part of everything that he's doing and cover it and make sure as many people can hear. So I covered the Broadway Bounty Hunter opening night. I went to Love and Hate Nation at Two River. Just phenomenal.
Yeah.
And amazing.
Oh, no, please, you go.
Oh, no, I was just saying that's amazing.
Yeah.
But the Christmas extravaganza last year, I mean, Katie, I know what you mean. Just sitting in the audience, it's like, I need to see it again, because where do you even look? Like there's so much happening. It's so immersive.
Yeah, it's like 50 people in the cast. It's like 4 hours long.
I usually go see it like once early on in the weekend, and sit and see it, and then like the rest of the weekend, I usually would like come and sneak in and like watch from the wings.
Yeah. And then every year there's just always somebody who last minute can't be there for a performance, because they, there's a sudden last minute performance on Broadway they got to go run and do. Because I'm sure when the show started it might not have been this way, but now Joe surrounded himself with these amazing people, and now all of those people are on Broadway and this and that and this and that. So like the year Eric William Morris, who's been in the Joe crew forever, he was starring as the lead guy in King Kong. The year that he was doing that, there was nobody to play Mr. Maccabee. Bill Coyne, who plays Sweet Baby Jesus, he was in an off-Broadway show last year, so he couldn't, so there's always somebody missing, and that's where this guy comes in. I just step in whenever somebody's missing.
The swing.
So Katie gets a phone call every year saying, well, I'm going on as Sweet Baby Jesus tonight, so I got you a ticket.
And then I'm there, and I'm filming I don't know. You got it, sweetie.
Yeah.
You're doing great.
But it's my favorite tradition of the year. And it's just when COVID started, when things started shutting down, my very first thought is this better be gone by December, because the Christmas show is the only thing I really get upset about is that a lot has been canceled. It's a terrible thing that's going on. Yeah. But the Christmas show is I'm very upset about it.
Yeah.
It would have been like last weekend, and it was such a sad weekend.
We were watching a lot of videos.
Yeah.
Reminiscing.
Yeah.
And it is because of what an immersive theater experience it is that just like most theater, seeing a video of it is exciting because you have like a time capsule, but you truly can't, the same that, you know, they're handing out the candy and then all of a sudden someone's over your shoulder and you don't know where to look, but
it's really wild. Yeah.
Joy.
Yeah.
It's just the best thing to get you in the Christmas spirit.
Yeah. And every performance is completely different because, you know, because everyone's so busy, it's usually, I don't think every person in the cast is ever in the same room at the same time ever. It's just one of those things where our dress rehearsal the day before there's like half the people are there. And so the first performance is the first time everyone's together, but not really, because there's people who are switching roles for the next show. And then between the 7 o'clock show and the 10 o'clock show, 11 o'clock show, half the cast is leaving and another half is coming in to like take over. It's really, really insane. I highly recommend to anybody next year. Hopefully, I don't know if it happens
Fingers
next year.
crossed.
So.
Knock on wood. Yes to all of that. And for anyone watching, first of all, hello. I see my friend Andy is waving hello.
Hi, Andy.
Back at ya. And if you're watching this in the future, hello, future people. I hope your holidays are nice. But I highly recommend watching all things Joe Iconis and Family.
Yes.
It's you can go through down a rabbit hole and you will never be not entertained. It is just phenomenal.
Yeah. Because I mean, we've talked a lot about what a great guy he is and all the great people he surrounds himself with. But then the songs themselves are spectacular.
It's also very talented.
Yeah.
So true. So as much as you want to share, how did the two of you meet?
Well, I was doing a show. I was doing Lucky Stiff, which I love that show. No one ever does it. So it was very exciting. But I was doing Lucky Stiff at a theater in Plymouth, Massachusetts. And there was another girl in the cast who was like my roommate. Like, you know, we shared a car for the summer. And pretty much every single day from the very first day of the contract, she was like, okay, when we get back to New York, I'm setting you up with my roommate, James. You guys are perfect for each other. So yeah, it was, you know, James's roommate. And she brought it up every single day. Because, you know, at first I was like, yeah, okay. But she got to know me better and was more convinced. And so we got back to New York and she was like, okay, go to this restaurant at this time. Like, we had obviously looked each other up, but we didn't have each other's numbers. Like, it was pretty much like blind date.
As blind a date as today can be.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Right. So we met up and we were like, oh yeah, she was right.
Yeah.
Oh, well, and Mazel Tov, congratulations.
Thank you.
Very exciting, very exciting with the ring and all.
Mm-hmm. Yep, almost 1 year anniversary of getting engaged.
Yeah, we got engaged on New Year's Day of this
January 1st, 2020. We were like, wow, this is going to be a great year.
Yeah.
Good things ahead. Good things ahead.
Yeah.
Those who wait. So it's really fun to see such a strong couple also writing and performing together. So what's that whole process like when you're coming up with new videos to do and the writing and who does what?
I feel like when it comes to videos and whatnot, which I guess is what we do. So when it comes to everything, most of the ideas are Katie's, and I usually drag my feet on some of them, and then she's always right, and they're amazing. So that's a lot of it.
It's
not always.
Yeah, it's usually not always, but it's usually me being like, I have an idea, and then, you know, James is extremely talented and also very funny, and so then we'll start, and then he'll have all these ideas, and then we'll contribute it. You know, I would say usually I'm the one sort of bullying you into doing it.
Yeah, like Man in a Musical, for example, when she said, because what I remember of that night, I did the bit, like we were joking around and I said, I must find her. And I ran off to the bathroom and she was like, oh, do that again. I want to film it.
I told you to do it. I was like, do our thing and say this. And you were like, please, no, I have to go to work.
I don't
and I was
like,
come on, do it.
I'm not really a comedy person in the performing world. I'd say if I have a strong suit, it would be like doing like dramatic things, Joe Iconis's music is really my only foray into like rock and roll, and like there's a lot of comedy in Joe's music, but even Joe's music usually has some pretty dramatic conclusions to songs and whatnot. So to be filmed doing something funny is just not me at all, and so that's part of why it takes a little bit of coercing. But then once I see the video, I'm so excited.
He doesn't think he's funny, but he's wrong, which is why I make him do this stuff, because he's extremely funny. Yeah. But I think it's good that maybe it's good that he doesn't know that he's funny. Yeah, because maybe I wouldn't be funny.
So yeah, Man in the Musical. But once that video started, like, going viral or whatever, then I can't stop. Like, I want to make so many videos. Let's do this. So yeah, and then those videos were all, for the most part, every couple days, or we had a whole list of ideas, but like I'd say 50% of them were, my ideas, 50% were her ideas, but she would direct all of them. So, specifically, and that was why they were so funny, do it like this. No, there has to be a bigger thing, really take it all in. She was the director of of that whole series. And then, for the most part, everything else, it's just, she's got the vision to do things. Cause I think
she's got the talent.
Yeah. And the good looks. But she's just more well-versed in the comedy world. And so I think she's just a funnier person. So it works well that
I'm just good at telling him
she sort of does that. But yeah. And then thankfully I can do a Mandy Patinkin impression. So I get to come up with those.
It's just me exploiting how talented he is and making him do stupid shit.
Yeah.
Well, it works.
Yeah. Because it's like you have an idea and then I'm like, oh my God, I have a professional actor that I live with who can act it out.
Best of both worlds.
Yeah.
Yeah, it works well. So we're very happy.
Well, the quarantine videos, what's it called? The theaters trying to reopen.
Oh, yeah.
Pandemic.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, that was all her idea as well. Like
we get ideas and I buy things. I like buy costumes and then they show up and I'm like, I bought this. We have to do it.
Yeah.
In that
case, invested.
Yeah, I was like, I bought plastic face shields. But then it's like we start working on it and then it becomes a collaboration of we should do this song and like, we're together working. Like that one specifically, it's like what things would be ridiculous to do with the plastic face shield on. The answer is everything, but we
And then like, the one of those, the Newsies one where I was dancing to Newsies and the mask goes flying off. Like that one we spent like a good half hour to an hour on that because we were just like,
I kept making him do it again. He was like sweating.
Yeah, it was really hot that day and I was sweating. But it's all in pursuit of the funniest take. And we tend to really make ourselves laugh when it's really good. So, we would do it.
When one's going to go really viral because we watch it back later. Because like when you're making it, you're like, so like, okay, what's next? Yeah. But then we edit it and then like we eat dinner and then we come back and we look at it and we're like, oh, this is funny.
That one, the first quarantine theater video we made, I remember that being like, we hadn't posted it yet. And I was like, this is going to be so good. We were so proud of that one.
We had a lot of fun making it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it shows. It's perfect and it's timely and it's, because we're all in this like situation that we never asked or wanted to be in. And we're hoping that live theater can come back, but having like musical moments that capture the moment are like, they're very joyous.
Aww. Yeah. Yay.
Like that Dolly Parton one you did.
Oh yeah, that's another example of like I had an idea and then I bought all the costume pieces and they showed up and I was like, we got to do it now. I bought a lot of glitter rhinestones.
And that was 100% her. All I did was hold the camera, but then I did edit the video.
He helps me edit them.
I edit all our videos. The ones that are complicated, I edit. The ones that are super simple that you can just like do on a phone, that's fine. Yeah. But like I have like editing software and I add the green screen and
sound. We have a green screen now, so we're really advanced.
Yeah, like when we did the first quarantine one and we did Light in the Piazza, And it was one I really wanted to do because I thought it was really funny that like the light would shine on the mask and it would just wash out someone's face. But it didn't work. Like we couldn't make it happen in real life. And so I'm not that good at editing.
It in post.
Yeah, I'm not that good at editing. I don't know how it works that well. But I found the perfect thing, and it worked out really well.
You found the right filter.
Yeah.
The right filter. Sometimes all you
guerrilla filmmaking at its finest, and that we really don't know what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
It's so good. It's so good. Okay, so I see the time is flying by, and I have to tell you about. So I was watching your Titanic live.
Oh my gosh! Yes.
I have so many questions and I want to hear all about it, which I understand could be like a 5-hour thing. So
I'll try to rein them in.
Yeah, no, it's I'll give you the quick version of it.
But I also wanted to say that I made a trip to Southampton and I went to the museum.
That is amazing. Very jealous.
James has still not been. He tried to convince us to do that as our honeymoon, but I vetoed that. Jokingly to see if she would be like totally. But then when she said no, I was like, oh, this is a joke. I'm just kidding. Go to the beach.
No. I have a very clear vision of what that trip will be like, and honeymoon would not mix well with that trip.
He's only got room for one.
Yes.
One romance at a time.
Right. No, so I've spent my entire life as a Titanic nut. As a kid, it would be described as an obsession. But when you get older and you use it to your advantage, you become like a historian, even though they're like the same thing. The Titanic historian is just a weird kid that grew up. And so my whole life has had the Titanic around it, and I've been a historian on different productions of Titanic the musical, and I'm currently working on a Titanic video game with a really great team of people called Titanic Honor and Glory. Check it out; it's gorgeous modeling work that they're doing. But yeah, so one of the things I've always done since I got on Facebook in high school is I would post real-time updates of the sinking. So on the anniversary of the sinking, I would just type out what's happening at that time and just post it throughout the evening. And I just did it for myself because I'm a nerd. And but one year when I was doing my showcase in college in New York, I didn't do it because I didn't have time, and our showcase was the day of the anniversary, and I just couldn't. And I got so many angry messages from people who were disappointed that I didn't do it. And I didn't know people, because there's no way to know if people are watching that, I guess if you get a lot of likes, I don't know. So eventually it started getting more intense, and I started pre-writing them and making them really, really good. And then Katie and I talked about it. I don't know how it came up, but we thought we would do a live show once.
I wanted him to do it as a live show.
Yeah, and we tried.
We
tried to book this great venue in New York. It fell through. Hopefully in the future we'll have it there because it has a bit of Titanic history in that building. But then the quarantine happened, and we had nothing to do really. And so now at this point I'm on Instagram finally, because I wasn't on Instagram until like a year ago. And Instagram has Instagram Live, and I was also leaving Facebook at the time, and I am currently doing that again because I keep coming back. It's awful. It's a terrible relationship, but yeah. So we decided to do a live Titanic thing where instead of me just posting on Facebook, we also did that, which you watched, which was us by a fire. Just talking about the Titanic, and it turned out really great.
Yes,
so
many people tuned in, and
and they stayed till late. I still had like 30 people watching at about 5 a.m. Like crazy.
I had to put myself to bed.
3-4 a.m.
Yeah,
it was unbelievable, and we're gonna do it again.
We're definitely gonna do it again.
Absolutely do it.
So much fun.
It was a blast. So that'll be April 14th, starting at about 11 p.m. on one of our Instagrams.
Yeah.
Probably.
I guess we were hoping. We were like, next year we'll do it live.
We're gonna do it live one day.
Maybe not this year, but
yeah,
definitely
we probably won't get it in this year, but we'll definitely do it live again. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's very immersive, and there's lots of Titanic learning.
I figured out a lot of fun production elements. We turned the lights off. We listened to the song they played.
Yeah.
We tilted the camera. You gotta listen. Yeah. So it was good.
Yeah.
It was good. James provides the beautiful, touching stories and incredibly detailed, historically accurate information, and I am annoying.
Yeah. And we're a good team.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think before I went to the museum, I always just pictured it as the movie, like knowing that it was a real historic event. But when it's such a famous movie and there's so many famous scenes, it's hard to do that. And then there's just like, I won't tell you too much about the museum because you'll eventually go and you'll get to experience
no spoilers.
No spoilers. But it really there's just some parts of it that really are like, oh, right. Like, these were real human lives and real humans with not necessarily the best way of finding out where people were and who survived and whatnot. And it was just like, I don't know, it really changed my understanding of it all. And just as a journalist, it's very interesting to see the letters that they still have and some of the audio clips.
Yeah, it's wild.
It's an endlessly fascinating event.
Yeah, I'm getting her sort of into it, in slowly but surely.
Well, everyone's always sort of
everybody's sort of into the Titanic,
but it's very fun, marrying this guy because there's just so much to know.
Yeah,
there are a lot of people on that boat, a lot of stories.
Yeah.
Do you have any fun facts or specific tales that you would like to share right now?
Ooh, a Titanic story right now, off the top of my head.
Anything theater related? Oh, he's got
theater related. I'm sure.
Never mind. I'm sure.
Anyway, So one of the most fascinating things about the Titanic is just the sheer chance of it all happening. The way that it went down was so specific that it will never happen again, and it never could happen again. It's just the odds are. It's. You can go down a rabbit hole of just thinking of moment after moment that had any of these things changed, none of it would have happened. And one of the most interesting ones that's kind of a newer thought is there was a coal fire in the ship when it was in Southampton and docking here and there. Coal fires were extremely common, and it's been like all over the news recently because Titanic is like the best clickbait. If you have any article about the Titanic, people will click on it. So it's the most annoying thing about loving the Titanic is the amount of clickbait people send you that's just bullshit. So the coal fire is this new thing that really sank the Titanic, and it's absolutely garbage. We've known about the coal fire since the coal fire was still going. Like, it was well known on the ship that there was a coal fire. It was not a big deal. Coal fires were super common. But what that did do, to get rid of a coal fire, the crew has to take all the coal from that coal chute and put it somewhere else, so that way the fire will finally burn out, which is what they did. So they took X amount of coal and moved it to the other side of the ship, which caused the ship to, its entire voyage was sailing at a slight tilt, because a slight list to one side, because it was too heavy on one side. And one passenger who was a science teacher, he noticed this because he'd do experiments. He put a marble on the ground and it would roll down. So we know that the ship was tilted. And then when the ship hit the iceberg, it hit the iceberg on the other side. And so if you ever look at any ship in history, when they start to sink, no matter what the damage is, when a ship starts to sink, it always rolls over. Every single time, it's what ships do. They roll over. Ships do not sink straight down like the Titanic did. The only reason the Titanic did that was because of all the coal that was on one side that balanced it out. So
I actually didn't know that.
So the ship lasted a lot longer than it should have, which is why in the movie, the 1997 movie, and in historical accounts, when asked how long does the Titanic have left, Thomas Andrews, the man who built the ship, knew about an hour, 2 at most is what he said.
Because he thought the ship was going to flip.
Yeah,
and they were all gonna die
anybody who knows anything about ships knows we have a lot of water coming in. We're going to roll over eventually. But even he would have been very surprised to see the ship settling so evenly.
Wow.
And it really never rolls over.
That's crazy.
This is like a theory mostly, but it is a very good explanation as to why the ship did not roll over. And because it didn't roll over, there was more time for people to get off.
People got to party longer.
But more interestingly, this was what the thing was like. What the show is like. It allowed more stories to be told, more heroes to exist, more villains to exist, just more drama. And for that reason, that's why the Titanic is so interesting. Because if it would have rolled over, it would have been not as interesting. And so, but because the Titanic is the most interesting moment in history, all because of these weird coincidences like the coal fire.
Yeah.
Wow. I have to say, this is possibly my favorite way to learn about history, which is someone who really, it's like drunk history, someone who really knows the facts,
someone who's
but
drunk.
also there's a It's perfect. We have it all. I'm so curious about that because my boyfriend, John, is actually the captain of a salmon fishing boat.
Ooh.
Yeah.
How cool.
Now, I know, it's a pretty neat job. So especially I worry so much about like all things at sea, but it's kind of interesting to hear about like, so just in theory, if you had this on one side and are you prepared for this?
Yeah, right.
It's a much smaller boat, and I don't think
maybe not quite.
Keep all the salmon on one side, and if you're gonna hit anything, do it on the other side.
I feel like boats like that just sink straight down, but
it's
maybe
small enough. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And Andy saying, heck yes, Titanic nut and historian are the same thing coming from an actual historian.
Well, there you go.
Very cool. Yeah, it is.
Pretty neat. And I feel like with the Hamilton of it all, we are all becoming a bit of a historian.
Yeah, right.
Yes, there you go.
History
tying it all together
on us. Yes,
yeah.
It does. Okay, so I feel like we only have a few minutes left, but I'd be remiss not to talk about the Beatles of it all and just like there's so much that the two of you have done, but these are just some of like the highlights.
They're all over the place.
Yeah. James is he's got, two huge obsessions. One is Titanic and the other one is the Beatles.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. And so I have a series going to sort of plug myself. I have a series going called The Beatles Quarantine Catalog, where I am attempting to play all 248 Beatles songs in chronological order, one video at a time. They tend to come out once a week. I try to make them come out more recently, but I'm currently working on Beatles song number 53, which is Can't Buy Me Love. And today I just posted episode 52. So I have years of work ahead of me to get all the way through 248. But I break down each song, talk about where it came from, what inspired it, what mistakes you can hear on the album, what lyrics got changed, what got cut, just stuff like that.
Beatles historian.
Beatles knowledge. And so that's what I do. And you can find that on everything: Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Just the Beatles Quarantine Catalog is what it's called.
Amazing. Thank you. Yeah, I love the Beatles. When I've been to UK a few times and I went to Liverpool because I have some friends there, and it's just, it's so cool. It's so cool. Yeah. And they have these larger than life statues now on the waterfront.
Wow. Oh, cool.
Very cool. When you eventually do your post honeymoon trip there.
It's going to be a big, UK Titanic / Beatles pilgrimage.
Yeah. We're going to do it all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Perfect. And so, Katie, I just want to ask, being an actor, comedian, creator, and really finding this like perfect niche of finding the fun and making it theater, like, are there any specific moments that have popped out to you where you're like, there really is a need for this, and I'm happy that I'm the one filling it?
Well, I think it kind of started by accident. It was this thing where I was like, okay, I'm realizing like I love comedy and I want to pursue that. but also while still doing these other off-Broadway shows. So I was thinking of them as like separate things, like, okay, I have to work on my stand-up and my improv and you know, writing and all this stuff. And then also like I do musical theater still, like do, you know, so I had been thinking of them as separate things. I was trying to figure out, okay, like what's my comedic voice? Like what is my like stand-up set about? Like what do I do? And then once these Man in a Musical videos sort of took off, I sort of was like, oh, like this, you know, these don't have to be separate things. Like this musical theater aspect of myself, like, is who I am. And good, fun comedy, you know, the best of it is when you're being true to yourself and like talking about what you know. You know, they say write what you know. It's comedy is a lot of it is writing, and so it makes sense. But yeah, I had to sort of kind of stumble upon it organically, where I was like, even like with Twitter, like I've had a couple of viral tweets and they're almost always about theater. And then it's like, okay, well, I mean, this makes sense. So sort of this like epiphany of like, stop, you know, not thinking, oh, this is like a separate thing I'm doing, and realizing like it's all connected, and yeah, just embracing it.
Yes, embracing it. And it's clearly working, because I saw you are Broadway World's top 10 TikTokers to watch.
Yay.
So.
Thank you, Broadway World.
Pretty exciting. Yeah. Okay.
Yes,
So
honored.
now's the time where I'd love to hear about any nonprofits or charities that you'd like to shout out.
Yes, we have two that we love and are very passionate about. The first one is Days for Girls. This is an organization that my mom is a big part of. They work on promoting female sex education for women in underprivileged communities around the world. A big thing that they do is that my mom has been a big part of is getting these reusable feminine hygiene kits to women that, you know, might not have access or the funds to purchase tampons and pads. My mom sort of got started with this. She was working with her church. They would do a service trip to a school in Uganda. And, you know, she found out that a lot of girls end up dropping out of school because once they get their period, you know, they don't have not only do they not have the supplies for, you know, to deal with their periods, but they also don't have like the education to know how to, you know, take care of themselves in a way that's safe. And so a lot of girls will end up just staying home from school for the whole week when they get their period. And then, you know, especially in places like Uganda where a lot of the learning is by rote, you know, you don't have a textbook, you don't have something to study at home. It's like you have to be there in person, and it's like, okay, I'm going to say something and you repeat it back to me, that kind of style of learning. So missing a week of school is like huge. So suddenly, you know, a lot of girls will realize, okay, they're, you know, falling behind so much in school that they end up dropping out. Or, you know, similarly with the lack of sex education, they're getting pregnant at a really young age and dropping out of school. So it's just so interesting how like women's education around the world can be really tied to a lot of these, you know, reproductive learning issues. And so, yeah, so my mom has sort of spearheaded her own chapter of Days for Girls in using her sewing skills. She's really into sewing, making these reusable feminine hygiene kits to help girls, you know, have this thing that is sustainable so they can stay in school and take over the world. So Days for Girls is amazing. And the other org that we want to shout out that we love is Claim Our Space Now, started by two lovely friends of ours and members of the theater community, Marla Lusant and Dimitri Moyes. And it is an organization dedicated to dismantling white supremacy. And so they're doing a lot of incredible work, especially in the New York City area. They just launched Project From, which is to help a lot of the communities, underserved communities that were hit hardest by COVID, providing mental health resources for the African-American community, education and learning and all kinds of great stuff.
Those are both phenomenal and doing very different but very important work on both of them. So thank you for educating us and sharing those.
Yeah, and everyone check them out. They're on Instagram, Claim Our Space Now, and Days for Girls.
And speaking of Instagram, can both of you share where everyone can find you and if there's anything you came into today wanting to make sure to get out there into the world?
You can find me on Instagram at James Penca. I just do my Beatles videos, and then we do our funny videos, but all of our videos are on
Yeah. So
one.
I Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. You can find all of our videos. It's Katie Joe Yo Faux Show is the handle on all of those. And I really encourage everyone to check out the Ratatouille the musical, the brainchild of TikTok. It's a one night only virtual concert. It's gonna have some really, really cool Broadway performers. Are gonna help bring it to life.
Insane cast list.
Yeah,
we
can't
tell you what it is.
Oh my God!
Wow.
Yeah, and most importantly, it's for an incredible cause, the Actors Fund.
Yay!
And yeah, we're so excited to be part of it, and we think it's gonna be so cool. Like we're excited to see it ourselves. We're like so excited to see what they.
We know like very little about it.
Yeah,
we're excited to see it. Yeah.
We all are. It's so fun. And Daniel J. Mertzloff is a friend of mine. And
oh my God, he's a star. Yeah, and he's very involved in like orchestrating the whole thing.
I know. It's to go from the grocery store musical to this, it's just nonstop. But anyway, it's when I saw that the two of you were going to be involved, I was like, this is perfect. I want to make sure that we get our conversation in before that so we can help promote it. And I know everyone's so excited. Yeah,
it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yay. Well, quick note, you can find me at BWay Show. That's BWAYSHO. As you see here from my friend Chelsea Hill, aka Illustrating Diva, designed this. And we have a new episode of BWay Show, the podcast, cast, out today. Ian Weinberger's second episode. You can find it at your favorite podcast place, so check it out. And just follow along for the rest of The Show Must Go On, continuing throughout quarantine. So, on that note, I thank both of you so much for coming on the series. It was so great chatting with you.
Thank you for having us. This was so fun.
Yay. And thank y'all for watching at home. I hope y'all have happy holidays, and we'll see you at the show. Bye.